You're watching the History File channel, and in this video we're looking at the Battle of Sewell's Point. The Battle of Sewell's Point was an inconclusive exchange of cannon fire between the Union gunboat, the USS Monticello, supported by the USS Thomas Freeborn, and Confederate batteries at Sewell's Point that took place on May the 18th, 19th and 21st, 1861 in Norfolk County, Virginia, in the early days of the American Civil War. Little damage was done to either side, and by the end of April 1861, the USS Cumberland and a small number of supporting ships were enforcing the Union blockade at the southeastern Virginia ports at the southern end of the Chesapeake Bay, and had captured several ships which had attempted to pass the blockade. USS Monticello's bombardment of Sewell's Point Battery was one of the earliest Union Navy actions against Confederate forces during the Civil War. While it has been suggested by some sources that the Monticello's action may have been the first gunfire by the Union Navy during the Civil War, a brief exchange of cannon fire between the U.S. gunboat USS Yankee and shore batteries manned by Virginia volunteer forces, which had not yet been incorporated into the Confederate States Army, at Gloucester Point, Virginia on the York River, occurred on May the 7th, 1861. As part of the Union blockade of the Chesapeake Bay during the American Civil War, the Union gunboat, the USS Monticello, commanded by Captain Henry Eagle, with Lieutenant Daniel L. Braine, second in command, exchanged cannon fire with Confederate batteries on Sewell's Point, Virginia, in Norfolk County, Virginia, in an attempt to enforce the blockade of the Hampton Roads area in southeastern Virginia. The two sides did little harm to each other, and on May the 18th, 1861, the Monticello fired on the unfinished Confederate battery at Sewell's Point, which commanded the entrance to the Elizabeth River and the harbour at Norfolk, Virginia, but which had no guns yet in place, with little effect. By 5 o'clock on May the 19th, 1861, the Confederates had installed three 32-pound guns at Sewell's Point Battery. When the Monticello began to fire on the works at around 5:30, the battery returned fire, which drove off the Monticello's captain, Peyton H. Colquitt, of the Columbus Light Guard from Georgia. Captain Colquitt raised a Georgia state flag at the battery, since he did not have a Confederate flag. And on May the 21st, 1861, the Monticello fired two shots at the battery, but again drew off when the battery returned fire. After the battle, the USS Thomas Freeborn joined the Federal Potomac flotilla. Under the command of Commander James H. Ward, the Thomas Freeborn attacked the Confederate batteries at the confluence of the Potomac River and the Aquia Creek in the Battle of the Aquia Creek on May the 29th and 30th, and June the 1st of 1861 to little effect. The Sewell's Point Battery and other batteries in the area engaged Union vessels on other occasions over the next 12 months, including engagements of Union vessels or supporting fire against them during the clash of the ironclads, which were the Union's USS Monitor and the Confederacy's CSS Virginia, formerly the USS Merrimack, during the Battle of Hampton Roads on March the 9th, 1862. Union Navy gunboats, including the Monitor, shelled Sewell's Point batteries and other targets in the area again on May the 8th, 1862. Because of the threat of invasion by the large Union Army force at Fort Monroe across Hampton Roads from the threatened cities of Norfolk, Virginia and Portsmouth, Virginia and County of Norfolk, Virginia, although many of the Union soldiers were engaged in the Peninsula Campaign, the Confederates evacuated the Norfolk area on May the 9th, and the early morning of May the 10th. Federal troops occupied Norfolk and Portsmouth on May the 10th, 1862. When they arrived at Norfolk and Portsmouth, the Federal troops found the Confederates had abandoned the batteries at Sewell's Point and other fortified positions in the vicinity. No sign of the Sewell's Point battery exists today. The location is within the U.S. Navy's Norfolk Naval Base. If you found the information in this video informative, please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel.